This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Lechtech Musar podcast. We continue with the Pele Yoeitz. We are on page 413 in the art scroll, day 156 in Hachzik. Now we're going to talk about Goy, non-Jews, and we're going to talk about the importance of maintaining good, peaceful relationships with Goyim, even in times of oppression, as we will see. Here we go. Chazal teach us that one must be careful not to unnecessarily anger even a non-Jewish child. For their anger lasts forever. There's a good story in the Gemara that they once upon a time they wanted to literally wipe out and perpetrate a complete genocide against Klal Yisrael because of one small thing. A shepherd who hit someone, and if not for Rav Yeshua, who had done him a favor, they literally will wipe this out. So we see one small thing with a guy can go very far, and they're hard to appease the goyish. They don't have good midas, and we have to be aware of that. And one must also be very careful and wary, because if you're alone or it's the nighttime, you always have to be careful. You never know who you're starting up with. And with all this in mind, it's never wise to fight with a non-Jew, even if he's a child, even if he's downtrodden and he's a lowly person. You never know. One can be putting their own lives. Unfortunately, how we see in current events, how the world is completely chaotic and there's no sort of care for people, women, children. Goyim that just don't care, and it's a frightening reality that we live in, and we have to be very careful to do our best to maintain. Obviously, we have to protect ourselves, but l'chatchila we have to be very careful from the Goyim. And even if the result will be that he will bring a curse upon himself as a result of his interactions with people, this is not a good thing. Meaning, a person says, he's a guy, he's giving me a klala. It's an important thing to try to steer clear of any sort of negative interactions with a guy. The Gemara Megillah tells us, do not let the curse of an ordinary person be insignificant in your eyes. A person should always be forthcoming, be nice to even a guy in the street, because of the Gemara that says that you should always be yaktim shalom l'chol adam. You should always be forthcoming to say shalom and be nice to anyone, which includes even a non-Jew. Pele Yoeitz continues that one should use his wealth and influence, if he has, to make sure to foster peaceful relationships and to avoid any sort of jealousy or strife. If Hashem has expanded a person's wallet, his wealth, matan adam yarchiv loy, he must understand that a man's gift broadens access for him. Yeah, it's a tool, it's a means, not an ends. And you should even give gifts to Goyim, as the pasuk says, send your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it. And those who have ties with those that are higher ups in the government, you for sure should be especially careful to do whatever you can to have them do chasadim, be careful and act kindly with the Jews, because there's a relationship over there, and there's a very it's very sensitive. It's a sensitive territory when you're a yid and you're presenting. So first of all, ask the yidden to do whatever they can, if they're in touch with the higher ups in the government, to do whatever they can for us, and especially if you're one that's working with the Goyim at our higher ups, you're mamash and makom sakana, because the Goyim they're in the Mamshal, they have the power and they can execute things, and you didn't have to make sure to make a Kiddush Hashem in order not to Chas Shalom taint or diminish the level of the name that we possess. If they mess up on this, then their hatred will be everlasting. They will plot revenge and bear grudges like a serpent. Until the day comes that the Jews' authority is lost and he becomes vulnerable to their scheming. How does a Yid who is in a position of power, what should he do to ensure that the Goyim treat him well and that everyone wishes him well, and will even stand by him in times of need? The answer is by doing small things, giving small gifts, being cognizant, intentional about who you're dealing with, and show that you care. For this subtle bribery will blind their eyes to any faults of his and will stop and hold back the complaints that they have. A small deed goes a very far way. And this can help a Yid not just maintain a good relationship, but ultimately even when things are bad, even when it's during trying times, and we really need their help, and we're being oppressed, or we're being kicked around, those small gifts, who knows how far they can go, that they should forget all the bad that's going around and all the adversity, animosity, and stand up for the Yidden because of the small thing, the small gifts, the small checking in can go very, very far away. Even if a guy, it's hard to stomach all of this, but even if a guy strikes him, disparages him, robs him to that level, this is a concept which we've spoken about many times. This applies to all relationships, to all affairs. There's a yesod, and I think it's kedai to highlight. There's a pasuk brought down. It's based on a pasuk in Shmuel, the story in Shmuel. But this is a yesod that we've seen over here multiple times in the Pele Yoeitz, that when someone does something to you, when you feel that you're the target, you feel that you're the victim, a lot of times it can be very disheartening, it can be very disappointing. We want to react with anger, we want to nekama, we want to take revenge. But this might be one of the greatest yesodis that we've learned from the Pele Yoeitz, and it comes up over here again, and that yesod is that there's a concept which not necessarily do we like or do we want. Ki Hashem Amar Le'kalel. Hashem said, curse. Which is one of the strongest reminders that sometimes we feel that we're the victims. We feel that we're a target for other people's curses, for negativity, for rejection, for disappointment. And we feel, why is it always me? Why am I always encountering these situations? But the Pele Yoeitz reminds us very strongly how to react, which is definitely an avodah in itself. At those times where it seems to be the ultimate misfortune, something very hard to deal with. Someone wronged me. Someone messed me over. Someone fooled me. Someone dragged me on, led me on. We realize it's all from Hashem. We realize Ki Hashem Amar Le'kalel. This applies in all relationships, in business, in Ben Adam L'Chaveroi, neighbors, communities, family, whatever it may be. It should never happen, but when these things happen, Hashem Amar Le'kalel. This is a yesod that we have to always be cognizant. Realize that it's Hashem who is in charge. Rabbi Ephraim Waxman says, we're all puppets. Hashem is just pulling the strings. And anything that happens to us, it's all ultimately packaged for our benefit. We don't understand. We're very distorted. We can't see the full picture because Hashem has the full picture. We're not privy. Hashem didn't say, here, look up. This is the master plan and this everything's going to work out for the best. But we know Command of Rahman al-Tav Avid. We know Gamzul l'Tova. We know that everything is meant l'Tova Seinu, to help us, to enable us to reach Shleimus. And with all these things, this maze, this constant maze of life, we are reminded, Hashem Amar Lekalel. There's no person behind it that's doing the negativity, the harm to us. Hashem Amar Lekalel. Hashem empowers, Hashem supervises, Hashem ultimately gives the green light, and even if we perceive it, we process it as hurtful, we process it as its negativity, we process it as misfortune. Hashem Amar Lekalel. Hashem's in charge. Hashem is the one that gave the green light. Hashem said, okay. Hashem said, go. How is it Man David Rahman Tavav? It happens for the best? Hashem is the cheshbon. It's kapara. We need it for our shleimas. We need tikkun nefesh. We spoke about gegulim before. There's so many different things. But we have this perspective that it's never the person. It's never that guy's bad. He hurt me. Hashem Amar Lekalel. He was the shliach. And the question is, how are we going to become better from it? How are we going to make it a divine experience? How are we going to become uplifted and empowered and stronger and enriched, not just in that moment, not just in that situation, but our overall Eved Hashem, our overall being, our overall mahos, our essence? How is that going to take shape? How is that going to take root? What are we going to change from the situation as a full picture, as a full package? That's what the Pele is saying over here. And at those times, Simcha Rabbah, to have a tremendous amount of Simcha is a very hard level to attain, but that's what Pele is telling us. And when it's a guy doing this, we say, thank you Hashem for not making me a guy. So the Pele tells us that in every situation you have to evaluate it carefully. Ultimately, a person should always beg from Hashem that Hashem should save him, Hashem should protect him, and a person should always be on the pursuit of making friends, of fostering more love and promoting peace. And with this approach, we will endure even in the hard times and the challenging times in Galus. And at that time, when we ask Hashem for mercy, then ultimately Hashem will remove the yoke of exile of Galus from upon us, and then we will be able to dwell securely in our land in Yerushalayim, upon the inheritance of our forefathers. Amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.